Hey everybody, it's Al with BobCAD. So today I wanted to pick up on this lathe sample drawing. I did a video a few weeks back that showed some tips and tricks on how to lay out a part that you may be turning. In this example, I want to show some of the steps that you can use to set up the part for machining. Okay. To begin with, you have some geometry prep. So I'm going to create a layer called Dimensions. I'm going to make it active. I'm going to go ahead and select my dimensions, and then I'll move it over to that layer. I'll create a new layer, and I'm going to call this construction, make that active, turn the dimension layer off. Now from here I only need half of the part, so I'm going to go ahead and select the half that I don't need, and then I'll move that over to construction, create a new layer. This one I'm going to call face, make that active, turn construction off. Now it's not necessary to separate out the geometry based off a layer, but it can be useful. In this case, I'm just going to take the line that represents the face of the part. I'm going to right click. Now you can right click and choose modify attributes layer. That's one way to do it. The other thing you can do is click this button here, and that will move that over as well. We'll call this one OD. We'll make that active, turn off the face, and then I'm going to select the OD here. So I'm going to chain select from here to here. Chain select, I just go to selection mode, click on the left side of the midpoint of this line, hold down shift, and then I click at the end of the entity that I want to select through. Right click, modify attributes layer OD. Okay, so now we have our OD, we have our face. Okay, so now I've done the geometry prep, so let's go ahead and set up our job. We'll create a new job. It's going to be a turning job. We'll run our stock wizard. We have two different types of stock here: cylindrical, which we MDI our values, and revolved, where we select geometry off the screen. I'm going to choose cylindrical. The diameter is going to be 2 inches. I'm going to bump the length up a little bit here to 4.5, and then as far as the stock origin, I'm just going to put 50 on the face. That just bumps the stock up a little bit, so when I run a facing cycle, it will simulate it. One other thing to note is you don't pick your origin. Your origin will be based off your world coordinate system. So unlike the milling where you can pick where you want your origin to be, in the lathe side of things you have to move things to 0 and work off at the 0 that's on the screen. Okay, so now we have everything set up. We can get into the CAM tab here. Now one of the options that you have in the software is to copy and paste features, and then also to save and load features. And this is a really useful feature because you can take operations that you've set up in the past and you can apply them to new geometry sets. So it makes quick work of programming, especially for things like facing or OD turning for parts and materials that are real common in your shop. So I'm going to turn the OD off, and I'm going to turn the stock off, and this is the only piece of geometry that I need for facing. I'm going to go to my machine setup, and I will go to load feature, and then I have a turning sample that I've already created. With this turning sample, I can just right click on my geometry, reselect. I'm going to pick this line on the face here. I'll choose spacebar, and then I can come in and compute that toolpath, and here you can see I have a facing cycle to come in and face off the part. Now that I've done the facing cycle, I want to address the OD, so I'm going to turn on the OD geometry, okay, and I'm going to take this feature that's in the tree here, I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste. So now I have the same tool and all the same settings that I used from the first cycle. I'm going to go to geometry, right click, reselect, shift left click to grab my OD, and then hit my space bar. Now from here I can right click and edit, and now I can adjust my machining strategy. So the first one was a face rough, but I really used it just as a face finish. I cut the size there. I'm going to delete that operation, and then I'm going to go over to turning rough, and I'll pass that over into the current operation list. Okay, so from here I can choose next. I can decide whether I want to post with separate moves or can cycles. Okay, I can come into my parameters. I'm using the same tool that I used in the first operation. So I can come over to my parameters, I can adjust what my depth of cut is, I can adjust what my stock for finish is in X or Z. I have some compensation options, which I'm going to review in just a second, but really what I wanted to talk about is the leads. Now, the leads, the toolpath will be based on the geometry that I've selected. Okay, so if I compute this right now, you're going to see all the toolpath starts right on the edge of that geometry. If I want to extend that toolpath out so it starts off the face of the geometry, it's really easy to do. I just come back and edit my feature, I go to my leads, and then I can adjust my lead in. So let's say I wanted it to start 100th thou off the part, I can do that, and then I can compute, and now you can see it's starting 100th thou off of the geometry that I've selected. Okay, one of the other options that you have is a lead out. If you notice, like, this is going to take a pass and then it's going to come up and then come back over. It's common for people to want to use on their lead out. We'll do like 50 thou. We'll get like this little triangle shape that you see here where it will cut back. That's a pretty common option that people like to use, and you have that available for you as well by adjusting your lead out. Now, if you wanted to adjust the diameter that you're working with as well, you can come into your stock diameter. If we bump this up per se and then recompute, you can see that it will start roughing from higher up. So regardless of the stock that you've set up, if you want to adjust where the toolpath starts from, either on the OD or on the face, you can always adjust that right at the feature level. So this is a quick introduction to using the software for turning. Let's kind of load up our simulation here and see how everything looks. It's the same simulation interface as the milling software. We can go to our front view here, turn down our speed. I'm actually going to step through my cuts here, so I have my face cycle, and then it comes back up, and now I have my turning routines to step down the part. Now, depending on whether you used a can cycle or separate moves will affect the way that toolpath is generated. So some of the cycles, if it's done with BobCAD, some of the values that you're using, like your lead out sections, that will be handled by BobCAD when you're in separate moves. When you're in a can cycle, it's how the can cycle on your machine is going to handle it. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I edit this, and this one's at separate moves, okay? And then I edit my turning cycle, and this one's at separate moves, and I finish, and then I post. You're going to see the code that is generated is going to be all G0 and G1s, okay? Turning rough, I have set to a can cycle. Let me just verify that real quick. Separate moves, let me recompute it, and then let me post it again. Alright, there we go. So when I made the adjustment, I had to recompute. So you can see the facing cycle is done with separate moves, and then you can see the OD turning is done with separate moves. So as we adjust our lead out, that value would be posted directly in our code. If we turn these over to can cycles, so we'll say posting can cycle, compute, edit posting can cycle, compute, and then we repost this. We're going to have the can cycle handle how the toolpath is generated, and then BobCAD's just going to post the profile that the can cycle is being associated with. Same thing with this one here. Here's our can cycle, and then this is the actual path that is being posted, or that's the actual finish path, and then the can cycle is applied to that. Okay, in this example you can see it's a single line can cycle, so that would be for maybe an older machine that you're running on. We also have a number of posts that are there, but two-line would be more of a current machine or a newer machine. You'll see a two-line can cycle here, so you see 2 lines here, and you'll see 2 lines here. So obviously more to cover, but just a quick introduction to using the software for turning. I know there was some questions about threading that I'll address as well, but if If you have any comments or feedback, reply back to the Facebook, the YouTube, or the thread this video is posted in. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much, guys.